After watching this video, I highly recommend that you also watch my video about why we should keep the Electoral College. After watching both videos, let me know what you think. The Electoral College, a system we made all the way back in 1878, is outdated and has to go. Of course, saying that it's outdated is not a convincing nor valid argument, so let's look at the actual problems the Electoral College exhibits and why a simple popular vote is better. Let's review. A state's electoral vote count is based on how many members it has in the House of Representatives added to the number of members it has in the Senate. So let's look at a state with a smaller population, like Wyoming, which only has 1 member in the House of Representatives and of course 2 members in the Senate, so it has a total of 3 electoral votes, the very minimum of what a state can have. And then let's look at a larger state like California, which has 53 members in the House and 2 senators, therefore 55 electoral votes. Keep in mind that California's population, at least according to the 2010 census data, is around 37.3 million. So when we divide that by 55 electoral votes, we get that 1 electoral vote represents approximately 680,000 people. Now, this is odd, because Wyoming's entire population is less than 680,000 people. It's around 568,000 people. So, by California's rate, Wyoming shouldn't even have 1 electoral vote. Since Wyoming has 3 electoral votes, each electoral vote in the state represents around 190,000 people. Compare that rate to California's 680,000, and you find that under the Electoral College system, one single vote in Wyoming is worth not twice as much, but over 3.5 times as much as 1 vote in California. Of course, those 2 states are the extremes in terms of population in the country, but in no democratic system should one person's vote outweigh another person's over 3.5 times. In no democratic system should the interests of a few people outweigh the interests of the majority, especially to that extent. The Electoral College also has the infamous winner-takes-all system, which kind of makes the whole presidential election seem like a game. Don't worry about visiting that state, they always vote for your party, but look at those swing states. The Electoral College causes candidates to campaign primarily in the same 10 to 12 states, especially in Florida and Ohio, where the number of electoral votes is high. On top of this, it doesn't matter whether the candidate wins the state 51 to 49 or 90 to 10, because if you win the state, you get 100% of the votes. That factor may be the greatest flaw of the Electoral College. In what way does that system promote a fair election? I understand that a winner takes all is basically the system of how a president gets elected. If a president has a simple majority, they get 100% of the country, if that makes sense. There's not a 53% president and a 47% president. There's one president. Winner does in fact have to take all eventually. But would it not be more safe and reasonable to apply that winner takes all system district-wide as opposed to statewide? What I mean is, would it not be more reasonable to split a state up geographically into however many electoral votes that state gets, make sure each district has a generally equal population, eliminate gerrymandering as we have been, and allow each individual district to cast their own vote in the presidential election. Each district would have 1 electoral vote, meaning we would still have a total of 538 electoral votes. We'd still have the 270 to win system. The only difference is each district wouldn't necessarily have to be forced into going along with whatever candidate their state might choose. It's basically our current system, but more fair. Abolishing the Electoral College would take a constitutional amendment to do, meaning we would have to get 2/3 of the vote in the House of Representatives, 2/3 of the vote in the Senate, and we would need 3/4 of states to ratify. Even though removing the Electoral College is a generally popular policy, none of the three factors I just mentioned would probably be likely. Nonetheless, all three at the same time. If we can't remove the Electoral College, maybe we can find a way, or at least a more popular way, to change it. From winner of state takes all to winner of district takes all. It's something to think about because, I mean, I think even advocates of the Electoral College would agree that the winner of the state takes all system is incredibly inaccurate and risky. Lastly, let's talk about the actual people who cast the votes in the Electoral College, which are the electors. The votes of these 538 electors, which by the way can be anyone that isn't in public office, it really is determined statewide who becomes an elector, but these people are trusted to make the decision their state goes with. And while 99% of these electors have in history gone along with what their state chose, there have been instances where an elector actually went against what his or her own state voted for. Very recently, in the election of 2000, one individual from Washington, D.C., who was supposed to cast a vote for Al Gore, actually sent a blank ballot in order to protest a lack of congressional representation of DC. You can look it up. DC gets 3 electoral votes, but in the year 2000, Al Gore only got 2 votes from DC. While receiving that 1 point wouldn't have won him the election, he did actually end up winning the popular vote, but of course, he didn't end up becoming the president. There was also an instance in 2004 where an elector from Minnesota, instead of voting for John Kerry, the elector voted for John Edwards, who was actually the running mate of John Kerry. Basically, this person voted the potential vice president for president. I mean, everyone assumes that was a mistake, but since then, nobody has really fessed up. Look up the electoral votes from the election of 2004. It's kind of funny. So to end, there are many flaws in the Electoral College. It's about time that each vote counts as one vote, the same equal vote as everyone else. The popular vote basically eliminates any gerrymandering issues, and it also eliminates the winner of state takes all controversy. The Electoral College goes against our democratic values, so it's time to change it.